Hello, everyone. I am Ben Johnson, and this is the Perpetual Chess Podcast. Perpetual Chess is a weekly chess interview show where we talk with accomplished chess players, authors, and personalities about their lives, their careers, and how to improve at chess. Perpetual Chess is brought to you through the generosity of its Patreon and PayPal supporters and by Chessable.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Perpetual Chess. We have a guest I have been looking forward to interviewing, joining us all the way from Nigeria, in his car, in fact, as we will discuss. This gentleman is a strong player, FIDE rated 2165, which means he is a top 25 player in Nigeria. He is 26 years of age, has a degree in computer science, and is also a musician. But he is best known as the founder of the Chess in Slums organization, an organization that introduces chess to kids in the slums in Lagos, Nigeria. They've been featured on BBC News and Al Jazeera. They've been getting sponsorship from Chess Kid, Chess.com. Grandmaster Simon Williams has been doing a lot to help support the cause as well. And he's had a bit of a crazy week as his profile continues to rise, as we will discuss. And Tunde himself comes from the slums. But without further ado, let's hear his story. Tunde Onakoya, how are you?
Oh, very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on the podcast today. I'm pretty excited about this. I mean, I've listened to a couple of your podcasts, and I had hoped sometime that I'd be a guest on this. And I mean, when you reached out, it was a dream come true for me. So happy to be here. Thank you, and yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind of you to say. I've been interested in your story all along, and it feels like your profile is just getting larger and larger. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about what's been going on in your life in the past week or so?
Yeah, I mean, the past few weeks have been very overwhelming, for me, and so I mean, the crux of it was I made a tweet. I posted something on Twitter that kind of went viral. I mean, before then, I had maybe 1,000 followers, but it just grew to almost 10,000 followers in just 2-3 days. And the tweet was a story from one of the kids, that I got to meet through our training programs. And I mean, it was a very compelling story about how poverty is deeply rooted in some of those places, in some of the slum communities where there are a lot of vulnerable children. And in a way, I feel like a lot of people are disconnected from the realities of those people that live in these vulnerable communities. So because I was able to shed some light by telling their stories, really brought it to the attention of thousands of people. And I mean, I just shared it, and the next day I woke up, I saw thousands of notifications. I got more than 200 DMs, or more than 9,000 retweets on that particular tweet, and it's been crazy because a lot of people have reached out, and yeah, people raised a crazy amount of money for the family, and one thing that's for certain is that lives will never be the same again. So it's been overwhelming for me because I have to reply to a lot of messages and answer, respond to a lot of people that are reaching out that want to know our story, know what Chess in Slums is about, and it's super exciting, and I'm glad that more people are really getting to know about, impactful stories and how we are really changing the world in our own space. So yeah, crazy, but exciting.
Yeah, well, the attention is well deserved. You do an amazing job telling these kids stories, because for a lot of us here in places like the United States, we can take our comfort for granted. And even if you see something like a statistic about people who live in poverty, when you see a picture and a story, the magnitude is amplified exponentially. And I think that's what you're experiencing. But it's great that you're not only sharing these stories, but actually working to make a difference in the community. And you'd mentioned to me in the message that this has all this attention has altered your professional life. Could you go into that a bit, Tunde?
Yeah, I mean, my regular day is me just, getting on my virtual classes, but that has been very disrupted lately because I've been doing a lot of interviews. For example, CNN reached out, to do an interview about that story, and a couple of other blogs, here in my country, media houses and all of that. So I've been doing a lot of interviews, both in person and online. So I've had to. So it's conflict, there's a bit of a conflict with my job hours and having to show up for these things, having to respond to people, having to put in things in place for the children, that I wrote the story about. So, um, it brought me to a point where I had to really decide, what I wanted to do because, you know, um, we've been doing this for a couple of years now, and this year has been that year that the world, is really getting to know about the phenomenal work we've been doing, for the past 2 years, silently. And so it's brought me to a place where I have to really make a decision on whether I want to pursue this full time, dedicate, my life to humanity, to telling stories of these children, using chess as a tool, to discover, greatness. Because I've always been of the opinion that, beauty, greatness can be found, in the most unlikely places, and it is possible to do great things even from a small place. So that is the story of chess and slum. So I'm at that point where I had to decide whether to just pursue this full time and just quit my job. And yeah, I made a decision already, and I decided to pursue this and see where it leads. So it's still very uncertain. I don't know how things would pan out from here, but this is what sets my soul on fire, and I'm willing to keep doing this, and there will be no regrets for sure. So yeah.
That's an amazing story, Tunde. And as I messaged you on Twitter when we corresponded, I mean, not that you really need my advice, but I love the spirit of following your heart, especially since you're only 26. And obviously, what you're doing, again, it's making an impact in people's lives, and the fact that it's touching so many people is probably sending you a message. So, of course, I want to hear more about the Chess in Slums organization, Tunde, but I thought it might be good to begin just by tracing your own chess journey just a bit. Because you're a strong player, and I've read in other interviews you mentioned that chess is not super popular in Nigeria. So how did you discover chess?
Okay, so I think when I was 11 years old, now the way the educational system works in Nigeria, we have the preschool, which is the kindergarten, nursery. Then we have the primary school, secondary school, then university. So after my primary school education, I so I had to stay home for about 2 years because um my parents, things were really, really bad at that time for my parents, and they didn't have enough money to send me and my brother to school. So I had to stay home for 2 years, and so in that time I was always at home. So there was this barber on the other side, of our community. So I would always go there to play video games. I think it was the PlayStation 1 then, So one day he just brought out a chessboard, and a small plastic chessboard. And I didn't know what it was. I was fascinated by the way the pieces were curved, and I kept asking questions about it. That what is this? And it was like, oh, you're too small. That you can't know what this is. And so because of that, I kept coming back there, and I would see him play with his friends that would come around. So they would play, and I just kept watching. Eventually, I was able to pick up the names of the pieces and how they moved. And yeah, so that was my first introduction to the game of chess. I was always very fascinated by the way, they would sit down for several hours, just thinking. And I mean, I would look at them like, why were they just thinking so much about this? And I mean, these are just plastic pieces. And he, I remember he told me something then. He said, to me, these are plastic pieces, but, to the mind of a chess player, that he sees a charging army, and so he explained that chess was like a battlefield of the mind, where, you know, the white side is trying to capture the black king. And when he explained it like that, that was the moment I really fell in love, with chess. And I was really young then, and I kept coming. So when I eventually resumed school, my school, fortunately, my school had a chess program because the owner of the school was I think, ambassador to Kenya, ambassador of Nigeria to Kenya. So he played chess competitively when he was young. So he had this annual tournament, that was in his name. So our school had a chess program. So I got into the program, and so I started playing chess. We even had it as a subject in our school at some point. So we'd write exams at the end of every term. That was how, I got into chess, and I won my very first tournament, just a few months, after really learning. And yeah, that was what really sealed it for me. When I brought the trophy home, the whole community went bonkers because my dad was extremely proud too. He would always show it off to his friends, and I also got a chessboard as a prize. And yeah, so that was how I got into chess.
That's awesome. And so you're getting to learn by playing with your schoolmates and at your chess club. And obviously early success tends to breed success and instill a love and a desire to learn more. So what did you do to learn more about the
Yeah,
game,
I mean,
Tunde?
after okay, its equivalent is I think high school for you guys in the US. So after secondary school or high school, um, I got into college, and by that time, I was a fairly strong player already, and so when I got into college on a partial scholarship, because I could play chess, and I represented the school team in a couple of competitions. So when I was in college, we won all gold medals for our Naipoga and Wapoga games, and so that was where I really got into the deeper intricacies of the game because I had friends, my team members, that were equally passionate. I mean, most of the time, we would stay up, for several days just playing. I was always fascinated, about stories like Bobby Fischer, Garry Kasparov, Anatoly Karpov, and Capablanca. So, and then we didn't really have access to the internet, but we had some printouts, then. So we'd always read about them. And I remember watching a documentary about Bobby Fischer, about how he loved the game and how the game he left the game at the peak of his career. And I wanted to be strong like Bobby Fischer, so I went through all his games. I remember reading through all his games, studied all his games, and I mean my friends were equally passionate, so we're always competing. We wanted to be strong, really strong, wanted to be really strong players. We wanted to go on to become the first, grandmasters in West Africa. Because in Nigeria, there's no chess grandmaster. Even in West Africa, there's no chess grandmaster. I mean, in the entire world, there are only about 5 black grandmaster in the world. And I mean, the reason, not necessarily because it has anything to do with the color of one's skin, but because chess here isn't seen as something that can put food on the table. Yeah, it's not seen as a means of livelihood. So because of that, it is very hard to devote, your entire life, to just chess because there are very few tournaments. In Nigeria, for example, in an entire year, there could be just one or two FIDE rated tournaments. So to really become a strong player and gain ratings, or become very ambitious enough to want to be a grandmaster, you have to travel a lot. You have to really get a lot of funding to be able to do all of that. And access to some of those things, yeah, is pretty difficult. So I really wanted to be a grandmaster. I kept training really hard. My peak FIDE rating was about 2197, and but at some point I realized that it was going to be pretty difficult, to keep chasing this ambition to be a grandmaster. All the odds were obviously stacked up against me. So after college, I won a couple of tournaments, and after college, I had to decide whether I wanted to really pursue chess as a career, or I wanted to just focus, on my own, career. And so I decided to give up chess at that point, then came back to it later as a chess coach. So that was how my playing career progressed and altered.
Yeah, it's a tough decision for everyone. The at some point to transition from thinking of just maximizing one's own chess playing potential to thinking about how to work chess in with a career. But obviously, what you found is a great way to involve chess in your life and maybe still work to improve. And you never know, maybe you'll find some more time now that you're able to devote more time to chess and slums. Maybe being immersed in the game will help. So let's bring it forward to chess in the slums. So you've been documenting this journey over the past couple years on social media. Of course, we know each other from Twitter, but we should mention you also have a well-presented Instagram account. And when did you first, like, what were the beginnings of the Chess and Slums organization, Tunde?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in slum community because where I lived is a place in Lagos, Nigeria called Ikorodu, you know. So it's one of the worst, slums, in the world. And that was where I grew up. So growing up, we didn't have access to a lot of things. Remember, I mentioned I had to stay at home for 2 years, because my parents didn't really have, enough, to send me to school, at that time. And yeah, it was pretty difficult, growing up. But when I got into school eventually, I found chess. And that was the one thing that made me see the world differently. It exposed me to a different world. It exposed me to possibilities beyond the confines of my own community. So I had access, I had more information because we'd always go out for tournaments, we'd always meet people from other places, we'd always, read about, other people in other places in America. And so I knew that there was a world that was much bigger than where I lived or where I grew up, and, learning chess helped me to see the world like that. So Chess in Slums tells a lot about my own personal story, where I came from, and how it really started was after college. I stopped playing chess, so I just focused on music. So I was playing as a professional pianist, and for some time. So I finished college in 2015. So I did that for like a year, but then chess is an amazing game because it's a game that just keeps drawing you in, no matter how hard you try to stay away from it. It just keeps drawing you back.
Amen.
I'm sure we can all definitely relate to this. And so I eventually had to yield to that call, not as a chess player anymore, but as a coach. So I started, by going to private schools, and explaining that I wanted to introduce a much more inclusive chess program. And this time around, because chess here in Nigeria is still a bit foreign because people don't really understand the benefits or the use. They just think it's a gambling game, and I wanted to introduce it to private schools as an educational resource, beyond just having it as an extracurricular activity. I wanted it to be more as a subject, just like I was privileged, to have, but a lot of schools that I approached really frowned at this. And eventually I just settled, for teaching chess, um, as an extracurricular, subject in some of the schools. And while it was very fulfilling because, in those years that I worked in private schools teaching chess, I met more than 2,000 children. And it was the most, fulfilling experience for me. I wasn't earning a lot, but I was always excited. I would wake up very early, to go to schools. I would touch down about two or three schools in a day, teach and, get home very exhausted, but I was fulfilled because, children they have a beautiful mind, they learn differently. They were born in a time that is different from ours, and teaching them chess, is a way for me to help them learn, not what to think, but how to think for themselves. So I understood the beauty and the power of chess in education. So beyond just the game, at the competitive level, using it as a way, to inspire curiosity, and I really enjoyed the process of teaching. I kept doing it for 2 years, and I mean, eventually I had to quit because I wasn't earning enough, and I was really struggling with my finances. So in 2018, early 2018, I quit teaching chess in school and wanted to focus on doing a professional IT course. Then something happened. So I came back to the community where I grew up, and I looked around, I saw children, it was a school day, and I saw a lot of children in the streets walking, they weren't going to school. And I mean, it really broke my heart because I knew that for them, it is because their parents could not afford to put them in school. That is why they have to do menial jobs, be on the street to support their families at a really young age. And I felt that every child, deserves an equal opportunity, to build the kind of future they want for themselves, not what circumstances, would choose for them. So that was when I kept thinking about what I could do, in my own capacity. I obviously didn't have any money because I had just quit my job and, I was really doing nothing. I was trying to even raise money to do my professional IT course, but then I remember that, hey, I can teach chess, yeah, but I wasn't sure how teaching chess to children on the streets will put food on their table or make their situations any better, but then I just kept thinking about it. I kept thinking about it. I remember watching Queen of Katwe during that period, and it was about the girl from Uganda, Fiona Mutesi, and the movie really inspired me to go on and just do this. I wasn't sure where it was going to lead, but I saw that chess changed the life of Fiona Mutesi, changed my own life too. Then, in a way, it could maybe change the lives of some of those children, on the streets. And even if it doesn't, at least, they would have one more thing to be hopeful about. Yeah. So I remember that day I just picked a couple of chessboards, with some of my friends, and we went to the community. Now, when we got there, we had about five chessboards and a demonstration board. So we just set it up and called about 10 children, and before we knew it, we had more than 60 of them. They just kept calling our friends. They thought we wanted to share food. So before we knew it, we had almost 100 kids there. And I set up my demo board and set up the chess boards. And I wasn't sure how to teach chess to children, who couldn't understand English. I wasn't sure how to tell a child, that had never seen the four walls of a classroom before, that a rook could move vertically and horizontally. So I had to really break it down, in their own dialect. And, in just that one day, they were able to learn chess notation. They were able to identify the squares and names of the squares. They were able to identify the pieces. They learned the basic movements of the pawn in just that one day. And after that session, we bought food for them, and they were so happy. I saw the excitement on their faces. And when I got home that night, you know, I felt alive. It was the most exciting, time. I hadn't really felt that way in a really long time. And I saw that the possibility of doing this. I saw that, man, these children are actually really smart. Look at them in just one day. They're showing great aptitude for this game, but they are not in school. So maybe I could keep this up and keep teaching them every weekend, and so then I decided I was going to do this. And I came back to the community. I met the leader of the community, the ballet, and told him that I wanted to do a project for 3 months to just teach kids there how to play chess. And if they become good enough, maybe I could take them out to compete. I don't know. And he gave me his permission, and he gave us a space just behind his palace, and so we just picked the date, September 1st. And we came there, me and my friends, and we launched officially. And on that day, we had about 100 children turn up, and it was a bit hard to control. But my friends volunteered and were able to set up, and we taught them chess on that day, and that was the beginning of the journey. So I remember quitting church. I used to play piano in church. I used to earn, to play then. So, and I had to be in church for rehearsals on Saturdays and Sundays, and so I couldn't keep up with that anymore because I had to be in that slum community on Saturday and Sunday. So 9 a.m. I'll go there on Saturdays, come back home by 5 p.m. On Sunday afternoons to after church, I would go there. And it was just really beautiful. Getting to meet the children, getting to know their struggles, getting to really understand, their reality, was something I wasn't prepared for. I just wanted to come teach chess and just go. But being their chess coach, they started to trust me and they started coming to me with their problems. They started telling me, what was going on with them, and I couldn't help solve those problems because even myself, I didn't have enough, to survive. So that was what led me to start writing, stories. So I remember the very first story was about the certain girl named Basirat, and she was this little girl we found. She was 5 years old at the time, And I remember she would always hold on to the queen piece whenever we came with chess pieces, and she would never want to let it go. So, so I carried her one day and I asked her that why did she like holding on to the queen piece? And she said because it is beautiful. That is in her own local dialect. And I asked her what she wanted to be in the future. And for the first time, she spoke English and she said she wanted to be a nurse. And I was, fascinated about, by this girl. She had never been to school before, but she knew what it meant to be a nurse. And I mean, she had dreams, and those dreams were valid. And when I got home on that day, I wrote about this little girl I found at our training center, whose name is Basirat, who dared to dream, despite, the obvious limitations around her. And yeah, the story went viral on Facebook. It went super viral on Nas Daily, and someone reached out and said, "Wow, I would like to sponsor this girl till she's done with her university education." And yeah, we went back to the community. We broke the good news to the mother, and we found one of the best Montessori schools, and we enrolled her in that school. And yeah, so that was the beginning of Chess in Slums. We kept teaching them every weekend. The little girl got a scholarship just from sharing her stories, and I realized that I could share more, stories. And through that medium, more than 15 children got scholarships. I would always write about, oh, I met a certain boy today, Adekunle, one of the kids in our academy, or I met a certain boy today, Paul. And people will see them on Facebook and reach out and say, oh, I would like to send that child to school. And that was how Chess in Slums was birthed. And that was how, the journey progressed from just me taking a few chess spots to the community to becoming, a gateway to other opportunities, even for education.
Amazing. Yeah, I remember that picture, of course. I was one of the many people who saw it when it went viral. And listeners, I definitely encourage everyone to check out the Chess and Slums social media. Even if you don't have a Twitter or a Facebook account, you can still access the links, which I'll put in the show description, and see the pictures of these kids. So you mentioned the modest beginnings, and teaching these kids, and then seeing like a swell of 100 kids show an interest in chess. But I'm curious, Tunde, what is their initial reaction when you teach them? So you talked about sort of the pedagogical aspect of like trying to teach how a rook moves, but is there some hesitance from the kids that it might be a waste of time, or are they just happy to be exposed to the game and to be getting some attention?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in my experience, kids are always fascinated by chess. It's an exciting game, especially, if it is taught by a good teacher. And at first it was a bit difficult, not from the kids themselves, but from the parents, because the parents all wanted the kids to probably help them at home with selling stuff or help them hawk food items on the streets. So the kids being at our training center on weekends, wasn't good for them because it wasn't going to put food on their table. So that was where, we they had a bit of, a conflict and whether because the parents didn't allow their kids to come, so I had to always go to talk to the parents to make them understand that, you know, there are great opportunities, for the future of your kids if they could learn this, be a part of our trainings. I mean, eventually we couldn't convince everyone, but we're able to convince a large number of them to allow their kids, be in our space, on weekends to learn chess. And for the kids themselves, yes, at first, I mean, a lot of them only came because we gave them food after our training session. So they only came because of the food. But chess is a captivating game, and however you progress, the game is always a direct result or direct result of your hard work of the you know level or amount of work you put into it. So the kids started getting better. Had never seen, I mean, I taught chess for 2 years in private school, but I'd never seen kids improve at such remarkable, in very little time, at such remarkable pace. It was almost unbelievable. In about just 2 months, you know, they were already playing at an almost expert level. I mean, I'm a national master, so for me to have seen them progress to play, in a certain way, I'd never seen that before. So I began to understand that for them, they saw it as something that could really change their lives indeed. They saw that if they could really become good at this, they could become anything they wanted. Chess is it's an easy game to learn, but it's a very complex game. When you delve into its deeper intricacies, and the children were willing to do the work. They were willing to get better. They would always talk about it. And, at first, it was a struggle to pronounce the names of the pieces. I remember they would always call pawns. But I mean, a couple of months down the line, you hear them using words like prophylaxis when we're doing analyses. And, it's just beautiful to see how they transition, from, being knowing nothing about the game, and, eventually, it inspired a love of learning in them. Some of the kids that were out of school, we were able to get them off the streets and back into school. So they understood the value of education, the value of an educated mind. And chess was just the perfect way, to introduce that to them.
Amazing stories, Tunde. I want to hear more about it, but first we're going to take a break and hear from our sponsors. This is your weekly reminder that Chessable.com has a ton of high-quality material. Whether you're looking to learn a certain opening, want to see the latest Super GM repertoire that has been published, want to find a tactics course appropriate for your level, whatever it may be, go to Chessable.com and have a look around. Don't forget they have tons of cool free content too, like their short and sweet courses about various openings, and all of the things that they offer feature their proprietary move trainer technology, the secret sauce that lets you actually remember all of the new chess moves and opening sequences that you learn. So once again, Chessable.com, check out their ever-expanding excellent library. So Tunde, it's great to hear about the passion that you see with these kids and the progress that you describe of how quickly they become strong chess players. I know that it was recently announced that you've established a partnership with Chess Kid, which of course is the kids wing of chess.com. Have you had a chance to incorporate that with the kids? Are they able to access like online tools?
Yeah. I mean, the partnership with Chess Kid happened a couple of months ago, and very recently with chess.com. Now, when I made the viral tweets about Basirat last year, sometime in May, because I really just became active on Twitter, I think April, May last year. Before then I used Facebook. So someone just told me to be more active on Twitter. And at first, I didn't really understand how Twitter worked. I mean, I'm grateful I got to join Twitter because I've met some of the most amazing people, through Twitter. So after that tweet about Basirat that went viral, Cheskid reached out to me and, asked, how we could, work together, to scale this even further. So that was when I met Cheskid CEO Carey Fan, and meeting Cheskid really, really changed a lot for us, really changed, everything about chess and slums in terms of organizational structure and in terms of, understanding what could even be possible, what could be more possible, beyond just having it in our local community, and so we now Chesskid has the best training resource, in the world, for children, the best digital training resource in the world. And for our kids to be able to access this, due to the nature of the communities, where we teach them, internet is a problem. To get internet into those places is a problem. It is very expensive. And now getting devices. So I now realized that a lot of the children had never even seen a computer before, and I couldn't believe it at first. But then it became clear to me that they really don't have access to a lot of things, and nobody really seems to care. You know, the world is evolving. 10 years from now will be a totally different place. And how, if we're not equipping these children, with the right, resources to become relevant in that future, then, we are just setting them up for failure. So I began to think about how we could digitize, our learning process for the kids so they could have access to so they could engage the use of the internet and technology, to play chess and do other things. So when the pandemic happened and we couldn't be with the kids in person, it was just obvious that that was what we needed to do. And when the discussion started happening, conversation with Cheska started happening, we started thinking about how we could get more resources. I remember we got about 10 iPads, I began writing to a couple of people. We got some laptops, and very recently, ChessKid helped us set up a GoFundMe, and we've been able to raise, I think, over $16,000 now. So we've gotten a lot more laptops, resources, and iPads. So then we got iPads, and yeah, the kids were able to start using ChessKid. We created profiles for a lot of them. ChessKid even gave us access to thousands of gold accounts, for free, and the kids have started using it. And even the new beginners that are joining. So we just start with ChessKit for them. Not only does it help, their chess development, but it also helps their vocabulary, learning English and, understanding some of those things, in English language, has been super helpful for them. So we hope to get more digital, training resources, more iPads, more computers, for the kids, so they could keep, using the internet, and technology to play chess, get more information and to connect with the world. And in September last year, we had our very first virtual match against the college chess team from the University of California. So the director of the UC Merced team, chess team, Aaron Thompson, reached out to me on Twitter and talked about, having a match between our kids and, their own team players. And at first, I didn't know how that was going to be possible because we didn't have devices then, but when we got those devices, the match happened. It was 6 versus 6, and we had it on chess.com. And the match ended in a draw. The kids played against a more experienced college team side, and they held them to a draw. Some of the games were phenomenal, and it just really goes to show how within the event chess beyond borders. Because chess is a great way to connect, to people around us. It is a game that bridges, social gap, age disparities, gender stereotypes. With chess, if you have a chessboard, what matters is just you and your opponent, on the chessboard. So we think the chess beyond borders because it was a way to bring both communities together. We from Nigeria and the team from UC Merced, and it ended in a draw. And the kids did analysis together with some of the collecting players. They even showed them their community. So it was a beautiful moment, to see how chess could bring them together. And for the very first time, the kids got to engage the use of the internet to play chess for the very first time. So that was how, we're able to, use, ChessKid and chess.com to digitize, our learning process for the kids.
That's incredible to hear, and shout out. That's great to hear that that chess.com and ChessKid have given that support. And I'm sure, is the GoFundMe still active, or if anyone listening wants to kick in, what are the best ways to support chess in slums?
Yes, the GoFundMe is still active. You can probably follow me on Twitter at Tunde_OD. So or you could check out our Twitter page for the organization Chess and Slums, at Chess and Slums. Yes. So the GoFundMe is pinned, is the pin to it, the very first tweet you'd see on the page. So you could check it out, or you could just search Chess for Education GoFundMe. So it's there. That is how we've gotten a lot of help through the GoFundMe page, a lot of support. We've been able to even enroll more kids. Now, initially we had about 15 children on lifelong scholarship support. Now that number has increased to 30. We've been able to put more children from our academy, back to school. We've been able to get more laptops and more iPads, through the GoFundMe page. There's still a lot of work to be done because there's a crisis in Nigeria, for example. More than 30 million children cannot afford to be in school. Nigeria accounts for 1 out of every 5 child in the world that can be in school. Yeah. So it's a tragedy, really, because for most of those children, what happens in the next 10 years when they're not educated? The only other script made available to them is to get into drugs or crimes and all of that. And it wouldn't be fair if they don't have an opportunity to reach their true potential, because of poverty. Yeah. So chess in slums, really hinges on 3 things: the chess aspect, education, which is very important, getting them off the streets, engaging their minds with chess and getting them back to school, and humanitarian services, telling their stories, and getting them, help, to change their lives. So if you donate, to our GoFundMe, we promise to make every single dollar count, because there's a lot to be done, and ultimately we hope to expand to other slum communities, even beyond Nigeria, to other places in Africa too. So yeah, you can find it on our Chess and Slums page, or just follow me on Twitter. I would also share it on my Twitter.
Yeah, and I'll link to it as well to make it easy for everyone. I've donated before and certainly will be doing so again. We're going to take a quick break to tell you about our friends at chessmood.com. Chessmood.com has a comprehensive library that covers all phases of the game, opening, middle game, and end game. Their opening repertoire videos are very in-depth and cover everything you need to know about the openings that they have handpicked. They also have some great free content available, including Grandmaster Avtek Gregorian, their founder's blog, and the Daily Lessons with a Grandmaster, which you can find on their YouTube channel. So go to chessmood.com and check out what they have to offer, and be sure to subscribe to their YouTube as well. Let's get back to the interview. So Tunde, I don't know how good you are at converting Nigerian money to dollars, but what would be the cost of living to send a kid to school, or the typical monthly salary or something like that, to give our listeners some context?
So this is one thing we've been working on now, as we're trying to set up structure to, to expand, our operations to other slum communities. And before I get into this, I would like to say thank you very much, Ben. You might not know this, but you were actually one of the very first people to ever donate to our GoFundMe page, and I mean, thank you so much for contributing, to our growth and to the lives of these children, and so yeah, for it's equivalent to Nigerian naira for a year. So this is how we broke it down. It cost about $800 to send a child to school for a year. So because we enroll them in private schools, it costs about $800 to send one child to school, for a year. So now this also involves getting them scholastic materials, and getting them even laptops to aid their learning. So if you donate $200, for example, you'll be able to send that child to school for a term. So there are 3 terms in a year. So for an entire year, it costs $800 to send the child, to school for the entire year. So that is how we're going to include this in our website. So if you donate $10, for example, we can get the child maybe school bags and in a couple of books. So we're going to break it down on our website so that people can know to what exactly they want to donate to. Because it's an all-round um, um, it's an all-round experience for the children, both for their education, and the resources that we need to keep learning, and for their chess development too. So we'll break it down on our website for everyone, that wants to donate, particularly. And another thing we'll be doing is that we'll be putting up the profiles of the children from our academy. Like I've been doing, for the past couple of years, telling their individual stories. Because I feel like if people, could really see what I see in these communities, they will be much more inclined to help. And like I said, I think sometimes more people are a bit too detached, from the realities, of the children in these places. So they don't really know how bad it is, or how bad poverty, is really ruining so many lives. How the cycle of poverty has kept so many children and their parents in terrible conditions. So we'll be putting up profiles, of the children in our academy that need help, and you could definitely read about them and decide to support them in any way that you can.
Excellent. Yeah, and every little bit helps. And Tunde, you've mentioned, so these kids have very tough circumstances, often nothing to eat, and can't afford to go to school. You've mentioned, I believe, at times on social media that some of the kids have ended up living with you. Is that ongoing? Is your living situation? What's your living situation like right now?
I mean, I was just discussing with someone this morning, because my house is more like a food camp now. But all these children, yeah. So I recently moved into the community about like that was last year, September. So I moved into the community because I wanted to be here with the kids. I wanted to be closer to them, be closer to the project. So so since I moved in, the kids that are on scholarship support, about 15 of them always come to my place. So after school, the school they attend isn't too far from my house. So they come down to my place after school, So the reason why I'm doing this, it doesn't really have a lot to do with what Chess and Storms organization is doing because we go to the communities every weekend to teach them. So this is a bit more personal because I realized that once a week isn't really enough, for what we're trying to achieve, by impacting their lives. Yeah. So they would always come by my place. So after school, they can read, they can study, they can do their assignments. And I've also introduced them to coding. They would also have our chess classes here. Because I realized there's also a need for them to learn other skills, beyond just chess, beyond just their academics, because the world is all about skills. And remember, the dream is to prepare them, for the future. So any good day, anytime you come to my house, you can be sure to meet at least 10 children in the afternoon, in the living room. So we give them food too. So so yeah, I mean, sometimes I wish I had more personal space and time, but I would have it no other way, really. I love having them around, and it
Yeah.
gives me, the opportunity to spend more time, with them, to keep mentoring them. And very recently, the story I shared that went viral, the two children we found stayed with me for about 2 weeks while we were trying to, because we got a new apartment for them. They were living on the river, in a small zinc container. It was horrible. I mean, even an animal shouldn't live in that place. That was when we found them. So, I mean, after the story went viral, people raised a lot of money for them and were able to get them, a flat, in a much more serene environment. So while we were trying to put it together, the kids were at my place for about 2 weeks, but they'll be going back home tomorrow. So yeah.
That's amazing, Tunde. I hope you appreciate all that you're doing for these kids. It's incredible to observe from a distance, and certainly I hope I and everyone listening, I hope we'll do what we can to support it. Have there been any? Are you noticing a sort of broader trend in chess? Like you're introducing it to so many kids in your local slum. Are you seeing any other organizations? Are you seeing chess played more commonly as a result yet?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's there's a chess culture now. There's a budding chess culture in this community, in this Majidun Ikorodu community. So I remember we had an event for the kids, sometime last year, and so the kids got to teach the elders in the community. Even the king of the community himself got to learn how to play chess from the children, themselves. So we had the event, I remember, just by the riverside. We invited all the elders in the community. Even the kids invited some of their parents, and the kids taught them how to play chess on that day. We also invited career professionals, architects, doctors, engineers, because we realized that those children also have dreams, to become the stand-up role models in society someday. So we invited some of those people, to come learn how to play chess from the kids. And the ones that already play chess, we invited them to come play against the kids. The kids beat them very easily because the kids are playing at an almost expert level. So we have events like that too. So there's a budding chess culture in the community already. And so we do that occasionally. We also very recently we started having monthly tournaments. We had one just last week Sunday, so it will become a monthly affair with prizes, about $100 in prizes. So the reason why we introduced this was that we wanted the children to know that it is also possible. I mean, apart from the intrinsic value chess offers in terms of creativity, critical thinking, and all of that, you know, they can also play chess and earn from it. Yeah. So, and that there's always going to be a reward for hard work. So the better you get at this game, if you win the tournament, you'll be able to make money to even support your family. So I mean, I remember the first prize won about the person that won the first prize in the senior category won about $50. And that's a lot of money because Nigeria is in multidimensional poverty, and more than 60% of the population live below $2 per day.
Wow.
That is how bad it is. For the children to be able to win as much as $50, to support their parents, it's something we hope to keep doing every month on a monthly basis. Sponsor monthly tournaments with $100 so they can win prizes, support their parents, and yeah, earn from chess, even as children. So yeah, so there's a budding, love for the game in the community now because they've seen, its benefits and its impact over time, over the past 2, 3 years. And we hope to replicate this same blueprint across other slum communities, in Nigeria and across Africa. I remember I mentioned the statistic about 13 million children being out there on the streets, not in school, not doing anything. In our community, you've been able to train about 200 children with about, 30 of them on scholarship. So there's still so much more that we could do. And with more resources, we can definitely impact a lot more lives using our programs, you know, in other places too. So yeah.
Amazing to hear. All right, last thing, Tunde. So I know I saw your Lee Chess account. I believe you have a chess.com account too. I know that when James Altucher, a well-known podcaster slash businessman slash chess player, who of course was on Perpetual Chess a long time ago, he mentioned when he was doing a Twitch stream and looking for someone to play, and you hopped on and played him. I just missed that, unfortunately, and since I'm fans of both of you guys, I was bummed about that. But I'm curious if you have time for yourself. Do you still get to sneak in a few blitz games with all this going on, Tunde?
Yeah, of course. You'd always catch me by this time playing on Lee Chess. So for me, I mean, chess, I think I'm actually really talented because I haven't really put in a lot of work, myself. Maybe when I was younger, I did put in a lot of work, but I mean, my regular blitz rating on Lee Chess is about 2.3, 2.4. I think I hit 2.506 max when I was still playing really active. But these days, I barely have any time, to play chess, online. But I still, hop in. My ratings still fluctuates of around 2.3, 2.4. I only play blitz now because, there's a lot of cheating and playing rapid games. You are more likely to play a cheater who has more time, to cheat. So I just play blitz games or bullet games sometimes. And yeah, when I played James Altucher, so he put it on Twitter that I was, playing a few chess games, and I think I'd read about him some time ago. I even think he was. I think he's a national master of chess in the
Yeah, he
US.
is.
Yeah. So I played. It was a Petrov. Um. So he played the Petrov defense. I think Stafford Gambit. So apparently he had been taking lessons from I am Eric Crossan. So
Yeah.
so he wanted to play the Stafford Gambit. So after e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, and I knight times e5. So when he played knight c6, I just brought back my knight to f3 because I didn't really check the line, so I wasn't sure. So I didn't want to get into all that.
Right.
So I just came back, and so I won the game. I mean, but it was a very interesting game. And during our charity fundraiser, I also beat Ginger GM. We played a two-game match. The first one ended in a draw, and I beat him in the second game.
Wow, man.
So sometimes when I have my good days, I could play really strongly. But most of the time, I just play very badly. But yeah,
Nah.
so you can catch me on Lee Chess at Gifted Ends. Gifted Ends. I don't play very regularly on chess.com, but now that I have a diamond membership account, courtesy chess.com, not just me, or every team member, every Chess and Slums team member will be getting one. I would have access to a lot of, amazing resources, from the partnership. So I'll definitely be playing a lot more on chess.com now. And yeah, I mean, I maybe someday I would even get into Twitch streaming. But the internet here isn't as fluid. So but I mean, we'll see. I want to do more chess. I've started using Chessable recently, to train. The courses are amazing. I
Yeah.
took Ginger GM's, Iron English course. I've been doing that. And, maybe I still have some years I could devote to chess and maybe even get an international master title. But I'm not so keen on that right now. I'm much more focused now on the Chess and Slums project. I quit my job recently as a chess coach, to really focus on the Chess and Slums project. And I have, more time on my hands, and I'm just excited. I can't wait to see where this leads. And you told me something last week. You said, when you're young, it is good to always follow your impulses. So a lot of this is me just following my impulses.
It's great.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
interesting time.
Yeah. Your professional impulses, at least, to be clear.
Yeah, well, that, yeah, fair enough.
Awesome. Well, I would love, of course, Tunde, to see you get the IM title, and I think you could do it. I mean, you've got some impressive blitz ratings, as you've said, but what you're doing is so much bigger than that. So, again, just want to thank you, and can't wait to see how this story unfolds over the coming years.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And before I leave, I want to share something about our culture that, I think more people, should know about, your amazing listeners. So it's called Ubuntu. It's something that it's my own philosophy for life, and it's something that has helped me, to still stay grounded, even when things got really difficult. I mean, now we are getting a lot of attention, partnerships and all of that. I mean, there's no end to this. More opportunities will keep coming. But in those 2 quiet years when nothing happened, and I would just wake up and go down there with the kids, and no one really knew what we were doing. It was really difficult, and there were so many times when I wanted to give up. But one thing that kept me going is Ubuntu. So the concept of Ubuntu is an African philosophy and a very important part of our culture, that places emphasis on being self through others. Ubuntu is the true essence of being human, and how we can't individually perform at our greatest capacity if all links within a circle aren't performing at their best too. That I can't be all I can be, except you are all you can be. Because the better you are, the better I am. So that has always been my philosophy, about leaving the best part of me, with the children that I meet every day. I hope to meet more children over on the course, of this journey to help tell their stories to the world. As I'm building influence, to use that influence, as a force for good in the world through chess as a medium. So this is what really keeps me going. This is what drives me, that one life can directly impact another. And I consider this my superpower. And I mean, I'm way beyond the point where I could never give up now, because a lot depends on it. And I know that the success of this project would ultimately decide, the lives and the future of so many children out there. So yeah.
Wow. Excellent.
Ubuntu.
Okay. All right. Well, inspiring words, Tunde, and an inspiring life you're leading. So thank you for taking the time from what was already a hectic life and has been even more hectic in the past week. So really appreciate it, and can't wait to see how things develop.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks for having me on your podcast. Dream come true for me, totally.
Well, it won't be the last. Everyone. Happy to do it again in a couple of years. Just keep grinding. I would love to hear this story, Tunde.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can't wait for when this comes out so I can share with everyone.
Big shout out to Matthew Passy, my producer, been helping us for over 4 years. Much appreciated as always. I also would like to thank everyone who helped spread the word about the show, whether it be by word of mouth or a positive review on a podcast platform. I can't even keep track of all the platforms anymore, but every review is appreciated. I also wanted to remind you guys, you are always welcome to follow me or Perpetual Chess on social media. On Twitter, I'm at BennyFisher1. That's where I'm most active. We also have the Perpetual Chess Facebook group where we post every episode, and sometimes the guests chime in to continue the conversation. The Perpetual Chess Instagram page is unretired. Follow us at Perpetual Chess, where we post weekly clips. If you would like to email me, the easiest way is ben@perpetualchesspod.com. Also, of course, want to thank our sponsors, Chessable.com and ChessAim and ChessMood. Thanks for helping the cause, guys. Much appreciated, and great products that I'm proud to be affiliated with. Last but not least, of course, I want to thank all of our Patreon and PayPal supporters. I would like to give extra special thanks to the following people: and entities, Chessable.com, David Lazarus of LazmanChess.com, Quality Chess Books, the Capital City Chess Club, the Abysmal Depths of Chess blog, Adapta Interactive Web Designs and Services, the Apprend Chess Twitch channel, Andrew Alharji, Andrew Bach, Aniti Deer, Austin Clough, Benjamin Porteau, Bill Sigler, Kathy Carr, Chad Oliver, the Charlotte Chess Center, the Chess Central's Chess blog, Chessmood.com, Chris Flanagan, Chris Lott, Dan O'Hanlon, Daniel He, Danny Davidson, David Schreiber, I am Dimitri Schneider, I am Eric Rosen, Eric Tam, Ewan Richardson, Farhan Thawar, Faraz Sawaf, Gary Foreman, Glenn Downing, Greg Harst, I am Greg Shahadi, Gregory Galuk, Guven Manet, James Holyhead, James Kennedy, Jeff Martinson, Jens Green, Jeremy Nielsen, John Jernigan, John Rockefeller, John Cromartie, John MacArthur, Kelly Palmer, Kevin O'Callahan, King Selt, the King's Crusher YouTube channel, one of the OGs of chess YouTube, Lucio Casada Silva, the law offices of Stuart Katz, Matthew Feeney, Michael Can, FM Michael Oblin, Mike Zelazny, Mr. Mike Shahadi, the famous Mr. Dodgy, the Nerdnaze Twitch channel, Peter Sodi, the Playmore Chess Academy of the Hamden Chess Club, Reuven Fischer, Reverend Roy Fry, Seattle Chess Club, Shane Unger, Stefan Kelty, Stephen Martinez, Sven Gierson, Thomas Stanix, Thomas Tachenko, Todd Bryant of StrongChess.com, Todd Kennedy, The Vintage Patzers, which is a Chess.com improver group, Wayne Beam, William Hogarth, and I also would like to thank Aaron Waffler, Ace Viega, Adam Ralph of ChessEngland.com, Adrian Gutierrez, Alan and Maggie Sue, Alex Pejas, Alexander Markovitz, FM Andre Terakov, Dr. Andrew Perry, Angus McLeod, Barry Hessian, Bill Juniper, Bill Moran, Brad and Andy Rosen, Brett Howard Lynn, Brian Chase, Brian Mullis, Bruce Scott, Brian Tillis of Palm Beach Chess, Chad Hilton, Chess Patzer Spain, I'm not sure if that one's a real name, Dr. Charles Snodgrass, Chris Wainscott, Christopher Baumgartner, Christopher Chabris, Christopher Wood, I am Christoph Zalecki, aka Chess Explained, Coach J's Chess Academy, Corey Budson, Costa Caras, Courtney Fry, Craig Mallon, Daniel Ginsberg, Daniel Naylor, Dave Saylor, David Bleskachek, David Brown, David Hamblin, David Cramley of Chessable.com, Dalen Shelton, Dennis Parrish, Dirk Durker, FM Donnie Ariel, Dwayne Edmonds, Ed Daly, Ed Mead, Emmanuel Langlois Robitaille, Ethan Smith, Hallelujah Cat, Ian Mason, Indrek Ryland, Felipe Melo Pereira, Fox Valley Chess Club, Francis Letarte Lavoie, Dr. Frank Tortoris, Frank Zananis, Gary Andrews, Gary Lewis, Geert Vandervelde, Gene Stewart, Gerard Barta, Giovanni Russo, Han Schut, Harish Srinivasan, Howard Vihan, Jacob Kovac, Jason Apollo, Jason Murray, Jacques Perry, James Aspinwall, James Bonastia, James Muir, Jason Woolham, J.D. Chakrabarty, Jeff Anderson, Jeffrey Martello, Yep Hoyland, Jerry Wells, Jim Ratliff, Joe Valdez, Joel Thomas Ramos, John Tully, Juan Almagar, Dr. John Fallon, John Fernandez, John Fontaine, John Hartman, Jeff Jeffrey, John McMurtry, Jonathan Slater, John Quist, John Tully, Jose Rodriguez, Justin Gardner, Jen Shahadi, Joe Rocky, John Thompson, Josh Friedel, Kare Christensen, WGM, Katarina Nemtsova, Kelly Palmer, Kevin Pryor, Kior Gata of the Lakeshore Chess Club, I am Kostya Kovyutsky of the Chess Dojo, Krishna Gopala Krishnan, Kyle McAvoy, Larry Cook, Larry Ryforth, Laura Boyovsky, Macaulay Peterson, Mark Fitzpatrick, Mark Miller, Martin Knudsen, Martin Krug, Matthew Passy, Matthew Tedesco, Matthias Plock, Mechanics Institute of San Francisco, Michael Allard, Michael Hudson, Mike Clem, Mitchell Fabian, Nate Gabel, Nate Solon, Neil Bruce, Nigmat Mulajanov, Nicholas Isabel, Olaf Mueller-Michaels, GM Pascal Charbonneau, Passy Passanen, Paul Bain, Paul Clarkson, Paul Swaney, Paulo Santana, Peter Lux, Randy Temple, Ricky Grijalva, Richard Hallenbeck, Robert Tichy, Robert Turner, Rory Coleman, Roy Yearwood, Ryan Berg, the Say Chess YouTube channel, Scott Doherty, Scott McKinnon, Sebastian Finsterwater, Seth Bruzica, Shane Unger, Silver Knights in Richmond, Stefan Roller, WGM Tatyev Abrahamian, Tim Brennan of TacticsTime.com, Tim Seymour, Timothy Ha, Tom Edsel, Tomas Komanich, Tony Rotella, Tyron Price, Vishnu Srikumar, William Brock, William Peterson, FM Zhao Cheng of Chess1000.com, and Zhivko Stoyanov. Thanks, as always, for the support, everyone. I will catch you guys all next week.